All right, we are here today introducing a brand new podcast called The Have Not Room, where we're going to be covering the brand new season of Big Brother All-Stars 2, Big Brother 22. I'm going to be hosting the show. I'm Ben. I'm joined by two esteemed guests who will be joining me throughout the season. First up here, we have Chad.
Hi, I'm Chad. I'm a big Brother fan. I've been watching since BB16, but I've seen all the way from BB10 to 22 now, and a few of the ones before that 1 through 10 as well.
All right, and also Brian.
Hey, Brian, former Survivor blogger. Now, most of the time, just talk about Big Brother on this channel. Well, I guess on Wicked Good Everything more than on Wicked Good Podcast, where this is. But the same brand. Ben and I have covered Celebrity Big Brother and Canada. Have we covered Big Brother US? I think we talked a little bit about the live feeds at the beginning of last season. But this time, we're really locked in because it's All-Stars, baby.
I think we did a preseason coverage, and we did like our winner picks for BB21, and then both of us picked Ovi as our winner pick. So when Ovi went out pretty early, we were kind of embarrassed.
Yeah, we're real bad.
Yeah.
We love Ovi, of course.
Yeah. Ovi's great. Hopefully our winner picks this season are a little bit better. But it's going to be a little bit harder for us to make winner picks because we don't actually know the cast with 100% certainty. And not only do we not know the cast with 100% certainty at this point, I'm pretty sure CBS also does not know the cast with 100% certainty at this point. But we have a rumored cast that we're going to try and work from today. We can start, though, by talking about this kind of crazy preseason we've had with all of the rumors circulating about who was going to be on, whether it was actually going to be a season that happened. We've got confirmation now that next Wednesday is going to be the live premiere and live cast reveal. What do you guys think about that?
Chad?
It's definitely unlike Big Brother because, it's a show totally built around hyping it up and, getting people to watch, getting people interested. So them not revealing the cast, especially a cast based on, all-stars, these are players we all love to see, fan favorites and, really good players. I'm looking at them right now. So it's really strange that they're waiting till, premiere night to do this. But I guess with, COVID-19 and uncertainty with a few cast members that were rumored, they kind of don't have a choice. I'm sure they don't want to do it either, but here we are.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly kind of weird to be... I mean, everything's weird about the world right now. But that aside, at this point, we're usually knee-deep in Big Brother. We've gotten a few people fired from their jobs already. Like, we're in it. But it hasn't even started yet. And like you guys said, we don't even have a cast yet, officially. And we're not going to get one until the show comes out.
Yeah, it's very strange. We definitely should have known the cast by now based off of the initial advertisement they had done for the live feed interviews, which were supposed to take place this past Wednesday. And as Chad referenced, it sounds like the reason that those interviews were canceled or delayed, and the reason we're not talking about a locked-in cast right now is because apparently people who were supposed to be on the cast are no longer on the cast for one reason or another, possibly because of COVID, possibly for other reasons. But big names, winners like Josh and Casey are the two main names that were locked for months and months, ever since the start of the rumors coming out. Josh and Casey were two people who were seemingly locked in this cast. And now it seems like they might not be on the cast at all.
Yeah, I think it's super strange that we've had like this whiplash of, oh, this person's on, this person's on, this person's out. But Josh was like the one guy who I was like, Josh is going to be on Big Brother All-Stars. I know every former player apparently knows it from their DMs being blown up. Like, it's insane to me that he's not going to be on here. And it sucks that he couldn't just, not potentially go out to party. If that's how he got sick. Obviously, if he got sick another way, I feel very bad that this opportunity was taken from him. But there were some social media posts that paint a different picture.
Absolutely.
We also don't
know
want to say for sure, right? We don't know for sure that they were cut for COVID. This is speculation, but if they were cut for COVID,
right,
and they did get COVID, both of them were out partying in Miami for like a week. So,
I mean, you have other players like Paul, and I saw a tweet from Derek recently saying that, you know, they were thinking about it, but because of their families, in Derek's case and Paul's case, with everything going on in the world, he wants to be like a social champion and wants to be in the world present, doing things for the communities. That's the reason why he said he's not going on. Whether he was actually supposed to be on, I don't know for sure. I don't think anyone does, but they also have those reasons too, wanting to be with family and, you know, safe.
Yeah, I can't see a world where Paul wasn't called. He's like one of the main like faces of the season the past 3 to 5 seasons. So I can't see a world where he was
characters at this point.
Yeah, definitely surprising that we're not getting Paul either. Somebody who was heavily speculated early on the cast leak speculation pool as well. Anybody else that was speculated that seems like they're not on the season that we want to talk about? We want to touch on Danielle Reyes, who may or may not be on the season, but it seems very likely that she's not, given that she seems to have done a radio show yesterday, I believe.
She's literally doing everything to like the room. She's like, I swear to God, I am not on it. And still people online are like, I don't know. I think she's in sequester.
Yeah. I mean, we're not going to liar.
Hayden lost.
That's another one.
That's another one.
Yep.
Very
I was super hyped about Hayden, but yeah. Oh, he was my winner pick.
Oh, man. What about Derek? Derek is a huge surprise to me. I thought he would want to have at least one more go at it, but I mean, he's definitely the kind of player who has way more to lose than to ever gain from playing on another season, just because he played such a dominating game his first time, and probably that won't happen again.
I mean, you never know. Dan and Will both did that on their subsequent seasons, but I think that with Derek, he says about his family, I think that definitely played a role in his decision, but I think really it came down to, if Dan said yes, I think Derek would have said yes. I think the fact that Dan said no is really a driving factor in what caused Derek to turn it down. Because Dan would basically be the one person on the season who would be a bigger target over him, and he would probably come into the house without Dan, with very few allies. Well, he might have had at least 2 allies coming into this cast that we're about to talk about. But I think that Derek would have been like this trophy for everybody to go after if he came in without Dan there as well.
Yeah, are there any players that you're just
I mean, you would have Cody.
Yes, exactly.
Cody and also Nicole. We'll talk about Nicole Franzel.
Are there any players that either of you are surprised that were never even rumored to be on this season?
I think Johnny Mack is probably one of the bigger ones. As far as like a recent player who
I was thinking about him.
I remember I think we were watching feeds, the 3 of us together in Maine, when he got eliminated and rotating door back in. That was a big, exciting moment from that season. And I think he's pretty well regarded in the fan community. Like, people like Johnny Mack quite a bit. So him not being back, it's disappointing.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the male cast that we seemingly are going to get is relatively strong, so I can't complain too much. And I mean, the cast overall is also pretty strong. I think that there may be one dud that we'll talk about, but I think that another name that was thrown around that we're not going to be talking about as a potential final cast member was Amber Bertrosa from BB16, who I think would have been a really interesting pick for a season. Even though she went out pre-jury, I think that she has a lot of potential and a lot to prove. I don't know if you guys have any opinions on her potential return, even though it seems like a no at this point.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be fun to see her play without the looming shadow of Beast Mode Cowboy, just trying to really get in there. But I think she would have a better chance. But yeah, it'd be fun to see her play without him. But well, not this year.
Yeah, I think I was surprised to hear at first, but like you said, it would have been cool to see what she could have done without Caleb and without someone like Derek in the house. You know, kind of. I think there are a lot of players in BB16 who potentially on other seasons could have done better, could have gone further if Derek hadn't kind of sniffed them out early on and cut them, you know, at the knees. So
Frankie Grande was on the name.
Yeah, I thought for sure he would be on an All-Star Big Brother season.
Yeah, it does sound like he also was contacted to turn it down.
I mean, yeah, he was on like Celebrity Big Brother UK. Like you'd think he'd be down to do this again, but evidently not. I'm a little disappointed there was no representation from OTT. I guess this officially makes it not canon as a season that they didn't even consider anybody.
Not canon.
They've
been doing what they could to ignore that season ever happened. But
I mean, even with their social media posts about the live move-in for this season, they're advertising it as the first ever live move-in, even though BBOTT technically had a live move-in.
Yeah,
so
we watched Scott wander aimlessly around the house for like 10 awkward minutes. Like, how dare they?
Yeah. But yeah, it's definitely. I wouldn't have expected a BBOTT player. Obviously, players like Shelby or Justin, or even somebody like a Morgan, who has kind of made a name for herself in a challenge as well. It would have been interesting to come in, or even like Alex Willett. I think they all would have been very interesting. I think Jason Roy's name did cycle for a few days. I think as a little bit of a diversion away from Nicole Anthony. I think that whoever I won't name, but whoever seems to be running Nicole Anthony's social media was trying to divert away from the fact that she might be in the season by putting out Jason Roy's name, and he made a video saying, "All you hookers, stop calling my work,"
As someone who really enjoyed Jason the first time around, I think we get the full Jason experience with OTT. I don't think there's much left to get out of him as a character, I know he lost a lot of fans from his time on OTT, so oh well. I guess OTT was truly the fever dream of Big Brother.
The forgotten season.
Yeah, it really is. It's like BB9 and BBOTT are the two that they will never go back to the well for. All right, so anything else we want to talk about before we move into the actual cast?
No, I think that's it. I think we should get talking about these players. I'm excited to do some theory crafting here about what the season might have in store for us.
As we talk about this, we spend like another 40 minutes breaking it down, and then find out no one from this rumored cast list is on the season.
Okay. At least 3 of them, because their loved ones have been very sloppy. At least Bailey, Tyler, and Janelle are 100% on the season because their loved ones have basically confirmed it. So, we're getting at least some of these players, probably most of them, actually all of them.
So I guess, do we want to kind of maybe go from most recent players to furthest back?
Sure. We can start with the most recent fan favorite from this past season, from BB21, the third place finisher, Nicole Anthony, is supposedly on this cast, despite her social media activity, or her social media activity.
I mean, Chad, what do you think about Nicole Anthony?
I mean, I felt like her season, she was always working harder than everyone else just because of her place in the house. I mean, it served her well. She got 30, you said?
Yeah.
So, I mean, she did very well. It'd be fun to see her play again and hopefully get a better footing and really, have a solid alliance. I could see her potentially, squeezing her way back into those top few spots. Whether she squeezes out a win is, depends on her jury management, but I could see her kind of being like a little sleeper and then coming out the end for sure.
Yeah, I definitely think I agree with you 100%. I think even though she did come pretty close to winning, third place, and if she made it to the end, who's to say what would have happened, but I don't think people are going to see her necessarily as a big threat right off the bat, and I think she'll be able to find her way, into a majority alliance. Just because she seems like a really nice person. She seems fun. Like, she's not going to cause conflict herself. So I think she's set up pretty well to go far. And she's the only BB21 player in the house, potentially, right, Ben?
There is one other.
There's one other. So,
technically.
But even better for her, because I don't think her and the other person had a bad relationship,
I don't think so either. I don't think that the player that we're going to be talking about next, David Alexander, I don't think he had much of a strong relationship in the house with a lot of people because he wasn't there for very long.
Right.
But yeah, I don't think that her and David have a contentious relationship at all. My worry about Nicole, I have two worries. The first is it seems like she might not have done a ton of pre-gaming. And we can gather that because she wasn't the name that was circulating very rapidly within the rumor mills in the early stages, even though she is kind of a very logical, obvious person to be on this season. She's one of the most universally beloved players from the most recent season. So I think that it makes sense as a lock. So I don't think she's been doing a lot of work in the pregame, which might make her an early target. Maybe she can sneak out of that. Maybe she can be kind of a pawn that doesn't go home in the first or second week. I do think that if she can get past the first few weeks, she'll be in a decent spot. The other thing, though, that worries me is that she's so well-liked. I think that she's in a position similar to somebody else we'll talk about later, Janelle, where if she's in a Final 3, I think that she's in a spot, no matter what, where she has to win the final HOH. And she has been okay at competitions. She was okay at competitions last season. But I think that's a very tricky spot to be in as a player if you want to have like a high amount of win equity.
Well said. All right, Ben, who we got next?
Agreed.
So the next player is somebody that we just alluded to, David Alexander, the other potential player from BB21 in the season. The first boot from Big Brother 21. He was eliminated during the initial kind of crapshooty BS twist where Jackson was elected camp counselor. He nominated 4 people to do a competition, and David lost the competition, so he was eliminated. He then came back into the house during the camp comeback twist and stuck around until the battle back competition, which he unfortunately lost Cliff. And so basically he never really played Big Brother, but we kind of saw a little bit of his social abilities when he came back into the house for camp comeback. What do you guys think about the potential of David Alexander being, I believe, the first boot to come back in Big Brother? Brian Hart was a potential returnee in BB11. He was very close, but the idea of a first boot coming back on an all-star season.
Yeah, I mean, with him, it's pretty much all potential because we never got to see him play. In the beginning, I mean, he was really good from the few days we got to witness, but it's all potential for me. I liked him. He was a really solid pick at the time, but like you said, he really got screwed over by that horrible twist. But yeah, with him, it's just I want to see him actually play. I think he has a lot of potential, and hopefully he'll go far, and hopefully he's actually on the cast. But it'll be interesting because he has everything to prove just because he's a first boot. But a lot of potential.
Yeah, I agree. He seemed like a potentially good player, and we just don't know. I don't think people are going to target him. I don't think he's going to get Francesca'd. Um, I don't think people are going to do that to him, but I don't really have a deep commentary just because, yeah, he's such a wild card. We don't know what it would be like for him to be on the block, for him to vote for somebody, for anything like that. So, I mean, good on him for being the first boot and coming back. Cameron and Glenn are pissed.
And Jody.
And Jody. Yeah, oh, how could I forget? For real, though, I mean, the show loves Jody. They should have brought her back.
Yeah.
But, yeah, the other first boots who didn't even get to hang out in the house after, like, day 1 or 2, they're probably a little disappointed. But I'm excited to see what David has in store.
Yeah, I think there's, like, obviously pros and cons to both because of the camp comeback to us, we got to see a little bit of the potential that we lost in David with his social maneuvering when he came back in that we didn't really get to see with some of those other players who were kind of screwed in these, like, night one twists. Yeah, I'm interested to see how he can play. I think that, like you guys mentioned, he has a lot of potential. And I don't particularly think he'll be an early target just because he's not like a big name. And I think that he's social enough to get into an early alliance. Yeah, so next player on our list here, heading from BB21 to Big Brother 20, we have the runner-up of Big Brother 20, Tyler Crispin. We potentially lost to the winner of Big Brother 20 in Casey, as you mentioned earlier, but we do have somebody who is considered by a lot of fans to be one of the better players in the modern show's history in Tyler. What do you guys think about Tyler's potential round 2?
At least for me, I was always rooting for him. He kind of has that aura to him where he's a fan favorite. He's someone who everyone really likes, and that showed up in the house really well. I mean, he got second next to Casey. He was particularly good in comps, I believe. But yeah, Tyler, he has everything to prove. He came in second. So he has a lot to prove this season, and it'll be fun to see him play again. I remember during the time BB20 was airing, he was, everyone was talking about Tyler, the surfer boy, but I really liked him, so I'm glad he's back. He's one of my favorite players, recently at least, so I'm excited to see him.
Yeah, I'm excited to see him as well. I think he is very disadvantaged by the lack of bigger names and winners, like, not being on this season, because I think, every time a big player or winner goes out, his name gets put up a little higher in the, proverbial chopping block for the other players coming in. He also won't have the advantage of being able to spend the first few weeks kind of hiding in plain sight, because people, he's a known quantity at this point. People are going to expect him to be devious, to be playing both sides, whether he's going to or not. We'll have to see, but I think his style of game, if you don't win the first time playing it, it's really hard to come back and win.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a difficult thing to replicate. Yeah. And pointing out something as well that Chad had brought up about players having something to prove, I feel like that's a very unifying thing about this entire potential cast. As even the winners, even the now 2 winners on this cast, I think that every single one of them is coming into the season with a chip on their shoulder in some way, where both of the winners have kind of gotten crapped on by the fans in one way or the other. A lot of these players got really close and kind of screwed up at the end, or there was some thing that happened to them that kind of screwed them out of the game, or they made some horrid mistake. I think that's a very common denominator among all 16 of these players. I definitely think that Tyler is coming in with a very big chip on his shoulder to prove that he can actually play a winning game this time. He can bump his game up from that 9.5 to a 10. But as Brian mentioned, he is definitely the number one threat without the Derek, without the Dan, without even people like Josh and Casey, who would have been kind of orbiters around him, who also would have been threats as winners. It's going to be very difficult for him to hide. at all. He's going to be definitely an early target if he doesn't win early HOHs or have people having his back, I think.
Yeah, I mean, even seeing some of the other names on this list that are winners, like he's still, I'm looking at Tyler, so he'll be fun to watch.
Tyler's the kind of guy who's like, oh, I like him, but if I was in the house, I would definitely try to get him out immediately.
Not happening.
Yep, I agree. All right, we're going to go on to his only castmate from Big Brother 20, who is on our speculated cast list, and a player who Tyler necessarily didn't get along with the best on his season in Bailey Dayton. Actually, I don't know if her last name is still Dayton now, because I believe her and Swaggy got married. But yeah,
just C.
Regardless, it's Bailey C. But yeah, so Bailey and Swaggy as well, but Bailey is the name that we have here. Has been somebody who has been rumored as being in the mix for this cast for quite a while. And I do think that Bailey is a player who has a lot of potential in her despite the mistakes that she made. She definitely tied herself to a very weak alliance. And early on, she was an outsider within that alliance, which was originally Faute and then the Hive. And even without Swaggy there as kind of an in to that alliance, she was able to kind of supplant a couple of people in the pecking order within that group. I think up until her mistake with the hacker, the stuff that happened with the hacker competition and the lies and the blow up that happened with her, I think she was playing a very strong game up until especially her HOH week the week before. So it's definitely, I think, a lot of potential there. What do you guys think about Bailey?
And with her, it's just about learning from those mistakes. And she's not going to have, a showmance and Swaggy C, who was a pretty targeted player, kind of tethering her down. So she's another one. I know we're going to say it pretty much all night here. A lot of potential, but she needs to learn from those mistakes she made in BP 20 and, just do her best this time around to fix those errors.
Yeah, I've heard, though I don't watch the challenge, so I can't cooperate this at all, but I've heard that her and Tyler have, patched things up, which is great. And I heard that her and Casey had a bad relationship, so even better that Casey's not on this cast. I think she is a sleeper, like I just can't see her blowing up like she did again. I think that was just like a culmination of circumstances, which makes it unfortunate. That's kind of what she's like remembered for. And of course it was a spectacular blow up. She was bleeding from the mouth. It's very visually like, it's very easy to remember that when you're thinking of Bailey, but I do think she, like you said, Jed, she has potential. We'll see.
Yeah, I definitely think that one of her downfalls was a lot of the more incompetent members of her alliance that surrounded her that had errors that they were pulling off that compounded upon the errors that she made. And with this cast, I don't think there are a lot of players that she could get into an alliance with that are going to screw her over with incompetence to that level. I like Faute is a phenomenal alliance in terms of television, but I think we can all agree they were not good at Big Brother.
Terrible.
But yeah, I'm very excited. I think that Bailey is an interesting pick here. I think that she could really show kind of a different side to her game, hopefully. All right.
Who's next?
So I believe we have nobody from Big Brother 19. Oh, we do have somebody from Big Brother 19. I am mistaken. I was thinking, well, Josh and Paul are out, so there's nobody from Big Brother 19, but we do have the third place player. I know, so memorable. I'm so glad she's on the cast, potentially.
God.
We have the third place player for Big Brother 19.
Brian's winner pick. from BB19.
Oh, she was. I remember that. I remember saying this is a terrible pick. She's going to go out early because she's going to show herself as a physical threat. Luckily for you, she broke her leg and didn't have the opportunity to show herself as a physical threat. She just was able to show herself as a strategic wrecking ball.
Right.
Christmas Abbott. I did earlier mention that I think that this cast does have one dud on it, and I think that Christmas is that dud. We'll see. The rest of the cast is phenomenal. If we have 15 great castmates and we have to deal with Christmas being there, I think that's we can deal with Christmas being there. What do you guys think? Do you think that Christmas is going to surprise us? Do you think that there's actual potential for her to turn this around and not just play for Instagram followers or for the guy that she wants to screw to try and hand him the win and then fail at that?
Chad, what do you think?
I mean, with her, with Christmas, it's like Brian. I think you should have got a lump of coal for Christmas or picking her, but
oh man,
that was a bad joke. But with
the whole
her,
season of BB19 was
pretty...
a lump of coal, so I think I got what I deserved.
Yeah. I mean, with her, I think breaking her leg was kind of the nail in the coffin, but also kind of helped her because she wasn't a physical threat anymore, so people could just drag her along without that threat of her winning a Final 3 comp. So
how dare you?
Chad, she's going to be
comp on one leg.
So, I mean, I think she's a dud, just like you, Benny. But I mean, if she can, win a few comps and, maybe we get to see how she plays a little power, maybe she'll be interesting. But, she just wasn't too entertaining for me personally. But, I mean, if 15 out of 16 cast players are great, then I'll deal with Christmas.
Yeah, I think on the one hand, I'm excited to see her actually be a physical threat. She's like a CrossFit model or athlete. I don't remember what it's called. But she does CrossFit, and she seemed like she was going to be pretty great. And, that time when she was voted from the hospital and didn't vote for who Paul wanted, that was like the highlight of the season. And it was like, oh, maybe not everyone will just do what Paul says. And then it was drastically downhill from there. Because that proved not to be true. So, I'm hoping if we can just get her on some morphine the whole season.
I was going to say, we're going to need a lot of pain pills for that to be replicated, but...
So, yeah, I mean...
Yeah. I don't know. Look, I am challenging Christmas to prove me wrong, all right? I would be thrilled if Christmas proved me wrong and demonstrated a cute ability to play this game that she did not demonstrate to me in Big Brother 19. And if she... is involved in entertaining feeds, entertaining television, I'll take it back, right? But I am coming in very skeptically pessimistic about Christmas as a player and a cast member.
Yeah, I would say from jury of BB19 on, like, she is the last player I expected to see as an all-star.
Yeah.
Like, almost any of the other ones I can kind of, like, be like, yeah, I guess I can see it. But Christmas, I don't know what she's really doing for us.
Matt Kleins.
Mm-hmm. I'll take Matt over.
You take Matt Kleins over Christmas? I don't know if I go that far.
I honestly forgot he was there. Much like everyone.
That's fair. Yeah.
Who was on Big B19? I don't remember. Anyway.
Yeah, let's move on.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll move on from the one cast member from Big Brother 19 on to our first cast member from Big Brother 18, the winner, one of the two winners potentially on this season. The winner of Big Brother 18 also played on Big Brother 16, Nicole Franzel, our second Nicole as well on the cast. Hopefully that doesn't get too confusing.
Whew. Chad, what do you think, Nicole? F.
I liked Nicole a lot in 16. I mean, she was always fighting. She was kind of like the other side of the house but Derek was obviously pulling the wool over her eyes the whole time anyway. But I mean, she's a good player for sure. She was always at least entertaining to some degree. She's definitely not the weakest member on this cast. I wouldn't say she's the strongest, despite being one of the couple winners we have left here. Again, I could be proven wrong. She's a solid, female player on this cast, probably among the best of the females at least. But she's someone who, I mean, really, she just wants to prove that she's a really good player and probably, snag another win. Which she would be the only player with 2 wins, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, do I want Nicole to be the one player with 2 wins? Not really, but
that world.
That would be impressive.
I don't know if I want to.
Objectively,
I don't know if I want to. I'd rather see Victor come. I'm sure Victor will be happy, but
he'll win a buyback, I'm sure.
Yeah, it'll be fun this year to play.
Oh man, yeah,
he'll just show up out of nowhere. He'll win every comp.
Yeah, I don't have any dislike to her. In 16, obviously, she was easier to root for as the underdog, but I was impressed with her game in BB18 and how she was able to navigate a lot of big personalities and kind of work from the shadows, if you will. And didn't she go like almost the whole game without being nominated? Like Final Four?
I believe so. I think she was nominated in the Final Four, right?
Yeah.
With Corey. I think that was the first time she was nominated.
Yeah, so that, as a returning player, is pretty impressive. And I think she would have a good shot to go far and win if she weren't one of 2 winners, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that I know a lot of the fan base doesn't have the softest spot for Nicole.
Yeah, they don't like that much.
I have enjoyed the Nicole ruined everything throughout history memes that have been circulating Twitter and Reddit, after the stuff that came out about like the wild rumors about her getting Derek and Dan kicked off the cast, which is
can we just say right here that doesn't make any sense.
No, look, I think I said this to Brian when it started coming out. I think I said that CBS would literally sacrifice an intern to get Dan and Derek back on the cast. They're not going to kick them off for pre-gaming. It's idiotic.
No doubt.
So true, though.
I think that Nicole, a lot of people don't like the things that people criticize about Nicole are usually that, 1, she generally aligns with men and targets women, and 2, that her strategy is heavily revolved around having a showmance. I do think, obviously, she's engaged, soon to be married to Victor. She's not going to get into a showmance this season. Right. Maybe there's be some flirting with a potential other castmate from her original season, but both her and that castmate have long-term relationships that they're dedicated to. So I think that we're not going to see the same strategy for a third time from Nicole. And I do think that she has a lot of connections, potentially, to a handful of other women in the season. I don't think we're also going to get the Nicole targets the women strategy as well. So I think that I'm very interested to see how Nicole can play with those constraints in place, that she can't just replicate what she did before and try and get it to work. And she kind of has to be more creative. She has to play as like a more front-facing target as one of the 2 winners. I think there's a lot of interesting dynamics here, regardless of whether you personally like Nicole as a as a character on the television show. That's my opinion.
I think if she still had those other 2 winners, in the house, she would have a much better chance here. Just because she's probably, one of the weaker regarded winners if all 4 are there. But where there's only 2 now, she's going to be right there in the spotlight.
Yep, and I think, like the rumors when back in the day there was like Derek and Dan on the cast, it's like no one would have been coming for Nicole early.
Oh God, no.
Now, who knows?
Yeah. Yeah, she'll probably have to rely heavily on like Tyler being kind of a shield in front of her, because I think that if Tyler goes early, I think that a lot of eyes are probably going to head towards Nicole as another potential target right after him. So yeah, I think there's a lot of interesting things to look out for Nicole. I don't think she's going to replicate the same thing that we've already seen 2 times. I think that there's intrigue there, regardless of whether you like her or not. So let's talk about her castmate from Big Brother 18, player who was also the only player on this cast, surprisingly, from Big Brother 17, because Big Brother 17, in my opinion, is one of the strongest recent on newbie fests.
Slaps hard.
We have Davon Rogers.
Yes.
I know Brian is very excited. I know
One of
Davon.
my favorite players.
Huge. He's a huge Davon stan. So, Davon obviously guaranteed to bring good feeds, good TV, good reaction gifs.
Yes. She might be more famous for reaction gifs than for being on Big Brother.
Yeah, she has at least 2 or 3 that are like mainstream, like well known and used gifts outside of even the Big Brother community.
Yeah, tends to be shocked, of course. That's huge.
And then also the one where she like sachets out of the house is another big one. But yeah, I mean, obviously very excited to see Davon back. We talked about her briefly coming into BB18, about she has a lot of holes in her game, and some of those holes were fixed in BB18, some of them were not. She famously turned down in Alliance in Big Brother 18 as the 5th wheel in a 5-person alliance with 2 couples, which is classically considered an incredible strategic position. So that's not great. She made other social mistakes within the house, but obviously she did do a lot better in 18 than she did in 17. I think she is going to struggle here, losing Josh and Casey from the cast, who I think would have been solid allies for her. So maybe she'll be in a worse spot than she otherwise would have been. I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think Davon can actually pull off a well-rounded strategic social game this time?
Chad.
I think it's possible. I mean, it's definitely possible. I mean, from her growth she was on Big Brother 16 briefly, correct?
17.
In the beginning.
The second boot of
17, and then she went up 8. Okay, yep, I'm caught up. So if she has the same amount of growth from 17 to 18, from 18 to now 22, I think she'll be a solid player. She's one of my favorites looking at this list. I'm so excited when I saw her as a potential cast member. So it's going to be really cool to see her again. She has to definitely make smarter decisions, but I mean, entertainment-wise, she's top tier. But I just hope she does well. She kind of keeps her mouth a little bit shut, but bites her tongue at least. So I'm excited to see her. She's one of my favorites coming in, entertainment-wise. I don't know if she'd be my winner pick, just because, but I'm excited to see her.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm ecstatic. You could do All-Stars without Davon. Come on. There's no question she was going to be on this cast, for me anyways. And I think she will learn to say yes. I think after the last time, she probably is like, damn it, I had it, and I dropped it. It was right there. Although if she made it to the end, we would have never gotten So This Is Who You Lay With, which is one of my all-time favorite Davon moments, and I wish was a bigger gif, because hilarious. But that's all right. I don't think she necessarily has anyone in this cast who she has bad blood with, because there's nobody from BB17 other than her, potentially, and Cody Califiore is not on this cast, although I think they also made up on the challenge as well. So,
although, as we'll talk about next.
Yeah. Oh man, but yeah, I'm so excited, and I'm really hopeful that she goes far and maybe wins this one. That'd be pretty great. 2020 could be a little bit redeemed if I get a Davon win. I'll put that.
Oh, that'd be the dream.
I do think the one main weakness in Davon's game has been getting herself into a position to do good things and then just kind of dropping the ball. She did famously in 17. She was the person to realize that Twin Twist was happening and noticed that Julia and Liz were two separate people. And then she also very famously did very little with that information other than gossip with Jason, and the information just kind of spread. She never actually used it for any strategic purpose, which she could have. She could have done something similar to what Vanessa ended up doing, but it's tricky. I think that at the very least, she's shown that she can have improvement, and I think that hopefully she can have even further improvement here.
No, definitely.
Agreed.
I think she also won the second takeover, but it couldn't save her. It just was just blocked 2 votes.
Yeah,
that was it. So it unfortunate.
Power when in the early weeks usually there's unanimous votes. Yeah, so it's Davon. Now we're going to get to our other contestant from Big Brother 16 that we talked about, Nicole, earlier, who had previously come back as well on 18. But our other contestant from Big Brother 16, the runner-up of that season, Cody Califiore.
Yes, the better of the Califiore brothers, I think goes without saying.
Oh my God, yes.
I mean, Paulie is very entertaining. He's very great. He's great TV. Right. But I do agree Cody is a much better player of Big Brother, yeah.
Chad, what did you think of Cody on his first run, and what do you think about him coming back?
Yeah, Cody's another one of those players I was very excited to see back. I really enjoyed him on 16. I think he's also one of those players who really has a lot to prove here. Maybe a little more than others, purely because he got second place to arguably one of the best Big Brother players in history. So I think he has to prove that, 1, he can do it without Derek, and 2, he can pull out the win. So Cody's going to be really fun to watch. I'm rooting for him. Not sure if he's going to be my winner pick yet, but I'm definitely thinking about it. I love Cody. It was fun to watch on feeds, and he's a good player. He's smart, and he has, he's athletic, so he's going to be a comp beast. So he's someone to watch. I kind of fear for him a little, but with other names on this cast, I think he could easily kind of blend into the background a little, at least behind players like Tyler. So I hope he goes far. I hope he does well, because I want to see more of him.
Yeah, I think, all right,
and redeem the Califiore name.
The elephant in the room, obviously, is he made, if we're just results-oriented, perhaps the dumbest move in the history of Big Brother by not cutting Derek and keeping Victoria. I think he 100% wins. I don't think that's an outrageous comment. And I think he beats almost anyone other than Derek in that season. So it's just man, he was so close. He could have robbed Derek of $500,000. But I think, honestly, his brother playing in the next season after he played, or 2 seasons later rather, and being we forget, Paulie was running shit in the beginning of BB18, but got hard exposed and completely flamed out. I think him getting to see that, and also presumably remaining very close with Derek and being able to talk, about the game, what worked and what didn't, I think he is in one of the best positions to do well, especially because he's just a very likable guy, everyone on BB16 liked him. It's not like they didn't vote for him because they disliked him. It's just that Derek played such a good game. You can't not vote for Derek at that point. So I'm really excited to see him back.
Yeah, I also am very excited to see Cody back. And I agree that he's a potential top tier, maybe top 3 to 5 winner pick here on the board. I think that coming in, he should be one of the bigger targets. I don't think he's going to be. I don't think that he's going to have trouble in the early parts of the season. He has a connection with Nicole, which will hopefully help him create more of a social web. We did see a lot of very solid social play from him on 16. I think that in a lot of ways he was the social player to Derek's strategic player. But on top of that, Cody also had a very strategic mind to him. He was involved in a lot of the decision making that him and Derek did. It was not just Derek running the game and Cody just kind of like picking up pieces with his social skills. I think that Cody, even as a sole player, is capable of demonstrating a lot of potentially great gameplay. And I think that, he is somebody who does get underrated as a player a lot because of that one decision he made at the end to take Derek instead of Victoria. I think that really weighs heavily on his reputation. And despite the fact that he played a great game for like 97 days before that. So I'm very excited to see him back, and I think that he could do great things in the season.
Yeah, I think we're all in agreement. It's gonna be hilarious when he's the first boot.
Yeah,
and we all look so dumb.
Yeah, I mean, look,
I'll cry. I will cry.
He's one of like 2 or 3 very clear, strong, physical guys. It's him, David, maybe Tyler, are like very clearly like the 2 or 3 clear, strong, physical threats. Even though there are a lot of also strong women on the season, so it's not out of the realm of possibility that he's an early target because of that. But I think his social skills will carry him through.
Absolutely. All right, who's next?
Agreed.
Well, we're skipping over BB15, of course.
Oh, I forgot earlier. BB15 is also on the pretender.
Yeah, I was gonna bring it up, but I didn't want to. I don't want to bring that up.
Paid me to not even include them in the snub seasons.
Yeah. So obviously nobody from BB15. It's very. You probably have used Andy's face in like competitions a couple of times, I believe.
And McRae a few times.
Yeah. He's like the only.
Like McRae a bunch of times, actually.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
So it's very strange that they still kind of acknowledge the season tentatively, but not to the point where they're willing to actually bring somebody from the season back, even though there are players. Well, Alyssa Slater was on Amazing Race, to be fair. I think that her and Helen as well would be very interesting people to bring back, but that's kind of a digression here. Instead, we're jumping right over it to the winner of Big Brother 14, the second potential winner on this cast. Ian Terry might be back. What do we think about Ian Terry 2.0?
Chad, what do you think about
him? Big Brother 14 is one of my more favorite recent not recent, but seasons in the last 10. Mm-hmm. So seeing Ian back will be fun. He's definitely going to be probably thrown in with those older players, I bet. I can imagine. I mean, it's tough to gauge him because he's so middle of the road in this cast. And I think if he didn't win, he'd be totally at the bottom.
Right.
So, being a winner and being, as smart as he is, and, something me and Benny, kind of talked about was he won a lot of comps this season, which is very overlooked. So I think he's going to be one of those players who's overlooked, but then people are like, oh, but he won. So he might be an easy target. He might, shift in the shadows. He's kind of hit or miss for me, kind of a glass cannon. So it's going to be fun to see him play again as someone who's, the nerdy type, but also a winner in a cast like this. So it's going to be fun to see him navigate everything. I'm excited to see him back, and he's definitely the one I'm most interested in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, BB14 was the first season of Big Brother I ever watched. Been in love with the show ever since. I rooted for Ian the whole season, and then he won, which is like probably another big reason why I got into Big Brother. BB14 is so good. It's just so good. And I'm excited to see Ian back. I hate that there's only one other winner on this season. I think that will eventually be his undoing. But, at least we'll get a little bit of Ian back, right? And it's not impossible that he could work something out.
Yeah, no, I think that it's going to be tricky for him. I do think that he probably takes a lot from not necessarily being considered a top tier winner within the greater fan base. I think that even he himself is self-aware in that there was a lot of issues with his win, especially during the endgame stretch. He relied heavily upon competitions. He relied heavily upon Dan kind of making some moves towards the end that like tangentially benefited him. And then obviously he benefited from the jury not wanting to reward Dan as somebody who was a previous winner and as somebody who had benefited heavily from the coach's twist and as somebody who kind of played a very aggressive, dominant, deceptive strategic game. So I think that a game like that and this cast is probably going to be difficult to replicate. But I think that he's shown, at the very least, that he's a flexible player. And despite being a winner, I don't necessarily think he'll be an early target unless he's kind of socially outcast from some kind of main alliance group, which is possible. But yeah, I think that there is a connection, even though it's a little tenuous, with the other player on the season who is technically on BB14, and we'll talk about next, that might allow him to kind of get a social footing in the early game. But yeah, I think it's very interesting. He's the only player on this cast who has played once, won once. He's the only player who could potentially go 2 for 2, from what we know. So that would be a very interesting story. If he has a dominant win in the season, I think that a lot of discussions will be had within the fan base about what that means for his legacy, what that means for him as like a potential greatest player of all time. We'll see. But yeah, I think there's a lot of good with Ian's game. Obviously, he did make mistakes. Turning on Brittany was a mistake. Relying on Dan to make the move he did the Final Four really bailed him out. Otherwise, he would have been gone there.
Really did.
He would have been gone multiple times in the last 4 or 5 rounds of the game if he didn't go on, as Chad alluded to, a comp streak. He is tied for a handful of comp records, but this cast is also made up of a lot of strong competition players, especially also on the female side. We'll talk about, but and also Big Brother competitions have recently kind of skewed more towards physical in the last few seasons, whereas a lot of the competitions in the end game and Big Brother 14 that Ian succeeded at were more mental, endurance based, that sort of thing. So it stands to demonstrate whether he can replicate that kind of competition success with the more modern version of the Big Brother competitions. We'll see.
Yeah. All right. So his castmate, technically, as you said, because honestly, when you said technically, I was like, who's he talking about? And I was like, oh, yeah.
It took me a second.
Yeah. One of the coaches from this initial coach season, the only coach from that season to be returning now, and also the only player who supposedly is going to be a 4-time player of Big Brother, which is insane. The first 4-time player. We only have one 4-time player now, potentially. We would only then have one 3-time player, and then nobody else has played more than twice. Actually, no, Nicole would then. Nicole and Davon would both be 3-timers now. But yeah, we're talking, of course, about one of the faces of the Big Brother franchise, even to this day, despite her initial season being 15 years ago, Janelle Pierzina.
Yeah, a double all-star.
Yeah.
I think it's really fun.
Yeah.
One of the potential 2 double all-stars on this season. Yeah. She obviously was a huge face of the franchise on her back-to-back run, Big Brother 6, Big Brother 7. She came in 3rd place on both seasons. She was essentially one comp win away in both cases from potentially winning the game. In Big Brother 6, it's a little more up for debate because the friendship did have a majority of the jury votes if she was in the final 2. So maybe she still loses there. But yeah, it's very very fun to have Janelle, obviously, again, a face of the franchise. You really can't do an all-star season without Janelle, I don't think.
No, agreed. Chad, how do you feel about Janelle?
Yeah, I mean, you basically covered it for me, Benny. I only saw her in BB14, but I know her history. She's definitely one of the few faces you picture when you picture Big Brother. You picture her, Dan, probably Derek in there as well.
Dr. Will.
But Dr. Will, of course. So she's someone who I think if she secures this win, that puts her name right up there and, one of the greatest players of all time. Statistically at least, maybe the best. With her, it's obviously, she's probably one of the best players on this cast without a win, going off of the stats you said. So I'm going to like to see her play. I feel like she's definitely going to be someone everyone looks at. I feel like she's going to be kind of in the center of the house here and all eyes on her. So it's going to be, I feel like with her, it's going to be trying to get eyes shifted off of her and to prove like, hey, I know I've had this past success, but, that was 15 years ago. Big Brother 14 was what, 6 years ago now? So 8 years ago, yeah. So, Oh my God. So I feel like that's probably going to be the card she plays is like, I was a legend way back, but not anymore. She's 40 now. So maybe physical cramps aren't going to be your thing. But socially, she's someone I would be afraid of if I was in that house. So she's got a lot to prove as well. She definitely wants that win. She's probably chasing here. But I'm excited to see her back. I mean, you got to have her, right? All-Stars.
Oh, yeah. She's a legend. You have to have Janelle. If you can get her.
Legend.
Man, yeah, like you said, her best move would just be to play up like, guys, I'm old now. I can't do comps. Like, just carry me, and then hopefully she's kept in shape since then, and she'll be able to still rock. That's my fantasy of it. That she pretends that she can't do comps at all, and then near the end just run shit.
Yeah, until somebody pulls out the 60% win percentage stat from BB7.
Yeah, that's a hard one to overcome. But comps were different then, Ben.
That's true. It is true. Technically true, yeah. And she is a lot older. She was recently on The Amazing Race alongside Brittany Haynes. And they didn't do particularly well, even though I was rooting for them. So she obviously can potentially use that as an argument like, oh, did you see me in The Amazing Race? That was terrible. My competition. I couldn't do competitions on that. Or you think I'm going to be able to do competitions on Big Brother? There's no way. And I do think that she does have the potential to kind of build a group around her, potentially even an old school group around her. She does have somebody from her initial 2 seasons who she was close to in both of those seasons on this cast. That's going to be hopefully an easy ally for her to build something out of. Hopefully that means that she can build something out of it and they're not just immediately targeted as a duo. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, obviously, I'm very excited for a potential Janelle run here, a potential Janelle late game run, a potential Janelle win would be a really interesting and awesome storyline and capstone for just like Big Brother as a storyline for the last 15, 20 years. It would be just a crazy kind of capper.
And if it goes poorly, we'll pretend it didn't happen like we do with BB14.
Yeah, basically, yeah. I mean, to be fair to Janelle, though, on Big Brother 14, it was not in the best interest of the players who voted her out to vote her out, in my opinion. I think that she didn't play it particularly well. She didn't really fight for herself in a way that compelled players to make what I would have thought would be the best decision. But yeah, definitely people evicting her over Frank was, in my opinion, a mistake. Yeah. But obviously, it's tricky. No doubt. Yeah, we'll see.
All right, who we got next?
All right, so we are, I believe, skipping over Big Brother 13 as well, which is sad. There are a couple players from Big Brother 13 I would have liked to see back.
Wait, are we slipping over 13?
Are we not?
Did Danny get dropped?
Oh, yes, of course. Danny Danada.
Yep.
Technically, I've
any question there, Benny?
Yeah, okay, yeah. I in my mind, I think Danny Danada, Big Brother 8, of course.
Yeah. And she got screwed over. It'd be 13.
Yeah. But yes, you're correct. We should definitely talk about Danny Danada right now. Danny Briones now. Yes. She is married to her BB13 showmance partner, now husband, now father of her baby child, Dominic Briones.
Who There's another one who I actually would have loved to see get a second chance, not in a half All-Star season, but
yeah, there are a lot of Big Brother 13 newbies who would have been very interesting to bring back. Obviously like Shelly, Kalia, Portia even, I think, is really underrated.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that Dani Danada, very excited that she's back. One of my favorites, great player, really underrated player, really strong in competitions as well. Underrated for her ability in competitions. I think when you think about like female comp beast, I think Janelle is usually the first name to come to mind. But Dani is like right up there as like top 3 to 5 female comp player in the history of the show, which is not something that's brought up a lot. Obviously, in Big Brother 8, she got a lot of help from the way that the casting was set up. Being in there with her dad was an issue in some instances, but in other instances it was definitely a help. And also with Eric Stein as somebody who was kind of pushing that game forward in a position where Dick and Danielle were often, they were very often. What's the word? I don't want to disparage her because I do really like Dani, but they were often, maybe helped a little bit by that twist and by the America's vote, because America did, surprisingly for a lot of people who are fans of the show now, America was a fan of Evil Dick at the time.
Right.
Yeah.
I think she should have been able to take control of BB13, but she got screwed over by her ally, thinking that he was going to get special powers if he got voted off.
Yeah, there's a number of instances where BB13 she kind of got kind of the raw end of the stick. Obviously, her dad going out immediately because of his HIV diagnosis, which she found out later, unfortunately, did not help her. She basically came in without a pair, although she did get the golden key to allow her to have immunity for a while. Obviously,
it's pretty big.
Obviously, during the early part of the game, the people she allied with pretty quickly got picked off for a lot of the cases. Obviously, what you referenced with Vaughan, and also obviously,
never forgive him.
also obviously Adam Puck not necessarily being the most rational or loyal player did not help particularly well with her game, but she did kind of come in a little bit of a hole in that season. She had a showmance. Dominic went out not too early on, I think third or fourth, that season. So she kind of was flying solo for a lot of the middle part of the season there, and she was able to do a decent amount of good work despite the fact that there was this solid crew of the two couples who were kind of had a chokehold on that part of the game. I do think coming into a season like this, she has a lot of really good opportunity to demonstrate her abilities as a player here. She's not going to be immediately put into a hole. There's no issue with her dad being there or being there and then not being there. There's no, well, I mean, we can talk about potential issues that her dad might have caused her right after this, but there's that's probably the only thing that I worry about with Dani. I think she's incredibly likable, incredibly social. She's obviously good at competitions. Hopefully she's still good at competitions 9 years later. She is a new mother. She is married now to Dominic, so we're not going to see her, similar to Nicole, we're not going to see her showmancing on this season, so it's going to be kind of a new situation because in the previous 2 seasons she had a showmance. Very interested to see how she can do. The one little issue is that during this preseason, Evil Dick, her father, has been very active on social media, leaking names, and while leaking those names, calling people out. One of those people that he has called out in the preseason has been Tyler. Luckily for Dani, the other main people that he called out were Paul and Josh, who are not on the season, supposedly. So that's very good for her. I think that Tyler is really going to be the only person who can kind of threaten her in any way.
Yeah, I think she just has to play up like I'm back to hating my dad. Actually,
yeah,
it fluctuates.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, hate everything that he tweets. So yeah, I think she'll do well in this season. I like you said, I don't think she has necessarily a big target at the beginning on her, and she is really good. The fact that her and Kalia trading HOH for 3 weeks in a row only netted Brendan twice in Vaughan is tragic. But you know what? I don't think something like that will happen this time.
Yeah, I mean, she definitely, like, as we mentioned, got phenomenally screwed. Basically, in every single week, there was just like a new way for Danny to get screwed in Big Brother 13. And she still performed pretty admirably with those circumstances. So, and obviously she got close.
Yeah.
She was the runner-up in Big Brother 8. She was in a position where, maybe she's the winner if Zach wins the final HOH. I don't think that would have been... we'll see. Who knows? We have next on our list, we had talked about Hayden earlier a little bit in the speculation part, but we have potentially another player from the brigade who seems to be the sole representative of Big Brother 12, the third place player from that season, Enzo Palumbo. What do we think about Enzo? I know Chad is a huge Enzo fan, a big Meow Meow fan.
I love Enzo.
Nice. All right,
he's so entertaining. I have watched his live feed highlights so many times. That story with the girl with the fart. I still remember it. I don't know why that's what I remember about him. But he was the mastermind behind the brigade, and he was a core member at the very least. So I fear for him that he's going to be an easy first target, just because he's really not one of the players on this list that has a big repertoire, more so than David, Christmas, and Bailey maybe. But he's someone, I love watching. Like, oh my God, he was so fun to watch. He's really good strategically. Physically, he was never really too much of a threat, at least. But if he's on, I am tuned in because I love Enzo. I just fear that he's not going to be able to get a strong footing early on. But if he can make it, mid-jury or at least 2 jury, I think he has the potential to make a strategic run. Maybe not a physical comp one, but if he can find himself with a good alliance or at least, a solid final 2, I could see him making it there for sure.
So obviously as a big Survivor fan, I was disappointed that Hayden is apparently not on this season. But I wonder if that could be a good thing. Having like half of the 4 horsemen in one house might have been like too threatening to overlook. But having just one of them, I think that kind of gives him a little room. And I think he isn't going to be like, he's going to walk in and no one's going to be like, we have to get him out like immediately. So he's going to have a few weeks to kind of sit back and hopefully integrate himself well. Ben, what do you think?
Yeah, I do think that, as Chad mentioned, he does have issues in the comp winning department, which does, bring into question, I think, his strategy of going to the final 3 with 2 like big strong guys who were never going to take him to the final 2. But other than that, obviously,
somewhat flawed.
Yeah, a little bit flawed in the long-term logic there. But obviously, the brigade is probably, if not, is the strongest more than 2-person alliance in the history of the show. 3 of the 4 of them made the final 3. If Matt Hoffman had not been kind of secretly plotting behind their back to try and turn on them, he likely would have also gone relatively far with them, but probably would not have been in the position to win. I'm very interested to see what Enzo can do here. He's obviously a very entertaining player for the feeds and for the show. I agree that I don't think he's going to be an immediate target as a threat, there's an outside chance he's immediately targeted as somebody who's not super socially well connected with a lot of these other players. But I think that might not be the most obvious pick for even that. So I do agree that he's probably likely to at least escape eye for the first few weeks. It's just kind of going to be a matter of whether he can get some sort of strategic footing within this group. I'm still skeptical if that's possible, but if he does, I think it'll be fun to watch. I'm excited. I'm glad that he's back. He's been somebody that has been talked about as a potential all-star even since Big Brother 12. It's good that 10 years later, it seems like we're going to get it. So,
yeah, I think
Grade 2.0.
I think that's also
the battalion.
That's also going to be an issue. Is I think that I'm doubtful that he's dumb enough to try and make another brigade. When that's going to be something that everyone's going to be looking at. I guess it would be him, Cody, David, and like Memphis or Tyler or something like that. I don't know. But like,
yeah, I could see a story early on, where people are like, "Oh, is Enzo making the brigade again? Is Enzo making, the squadron, the battalion, brigade 2.0, whatever fancy name?"
Yeah.
So I could see that as being a early thought just to try to, get him out. But like you said, it's an off chance. I think he's going to get a couple weeks in at least.
It's going to be the opposite of a usual season where someone usually gets targeted for making an all-girls alliance. It's going to be, Enzo's making an all-guys alliance.
Yep.
Need to get rid of him.
Last time. Yeah.
Oh, man. All right. Who's up next?
We have next on our list somebody I'm very excited to have back. We have our sole participant from Big Brother 11, the third place player from that season, Kevin Campbell.
And how shocked are you that it was not Jesse?
I mean, I think that Jesse's got a lot going on right now. And I don't know, maybe not with COVID right exactly now, but I think that he's got a lot going on with his career in wrestling right now, and also in Hollywood and stuff like that. Doing a lot of
the show just loves Jesse so much.
Oh, for sure, yeah. I mean, maybe he'll have some kind of cameo, host a comp or something like that. I could definitely see something like that.
Yeah, hasn't he hosted a comp every season since BB11?
Yeah. I think he's basically been involved in some way, or like the Pandora's box situation, that sort of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, no,
that's probably true.
Enough about Jesse Goddard. We're not talking about Mr. Spectacular here. We're talking about
Spectacular, yeah.
We're talking about somebody who I would consider one of the most underrated players in the history of the show. Somebody I'm extremely excited to see a second chance. Kevin Campbell, somebody who, in my opinion, is in a very strong spot to win the game pre-coup de Jeff, and even post-coup de Jeff got himself into a decent position to still potentially win the game if maybe Natalie had won that final HOH instead of Jordan, and Natalie had taken him instead. I think he probably wins. There is speculation that Kevin would have taken Jordan, and that jury vote's kind of up in the air, which I think would have been a mistake on his part to do. One of the fewer mistakes that he's made in his strategy, something he didn't actually do. But yeah, I think that Kevin is a phenomenal player. I think he has a lot of strategic capability. He's extremely likable. He's been great entertainment on that season, even though I think a lot of people at the time were a little iffy on him in terms of liking him, because a lot of his alliance members were a little less likable as far as the TV product goes. But I think that Kevin is if we're going to do a graph of people who should be considered threats versus people who are probably going to be considered threats, I think that Kevin has the lowest ratio there, which I think is the good one. But whichever is the good, low or high. Right. He is the person who everyone should be looking at as a potential top 3 to 5 threat in the season. And I don't think a single person is looking at him that way. Especially when his name was not thrown around very often in the preseason. I don't think a lot of people would have had the time to conceptualize him as a player coming in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've never seen PB11, so I have nothing to add here. But Ben, if you're excited, I'm excited.
Yeah, I mean, I watched it. I didn't dive too deep into it beyond just watching the episodes. But, he was a really good player. I think you covered it, Benny, where he should be treated as much more of a threat than he is because, he had multiple opportunities and there was a very, very clear way he could have won that season. So he's someone I think who's going to not be targeted, but he's definitely going to go pretty far, I'm sure. He's going to be a threat strategically, at least later on. I'm sure he's going to make it at least jury.
Yeah, I agree. I'm hopeful. I'm very hopeful.
Hey, he's your guy, man.
Hopefully he doesn't get sniped out like week 2 or 3 by some stupid twist.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, who is next?
Next, we have our first representative from Big Brother 10, which is widely considered one of the best all-new B cast in the history of the show. We have the runner-up from that season, Memphis Garrett. What do we think about Memphis?
Ooh. Talk about having something to prove. He's lost to Dan. Dan's considered the best player ever. It's like, I'm sure he has a bit of a chip on his shoulder of that. What do you guys think?
Oh, for sure, yeah. Especially losing unanimously. The only main show unanimous jury vote we had in Big Brother Celebrity 2. TMR won unanimously as well. But in terms of the main 2020 seasons, he's the only one to not receive a jury vote when available to him. So that's definitely going to be something that sits heavily upon him. As you mentioned, he lost somebody who's widely considered one of, if not the best player of all time. But I think in a similar way to Cody Califiore, where you talk about Cody and Derek, you talk about the Hitmen, you talk about the Renegades, you have Memphis and Dan. I think that a lot of people really underestimate Memphis's abilities as a player. You look at Memphis in the early stages of Big Brother 10, a lot of the things that Dan could be heavily complimented for in terms of staying out of drama, creating tension behind the scenes to drive people against each other, even though that wasn't really necessary with that volatile cast. Memphis was like the person who was like the second most staying out of the drama, and he got saved the week that he was in the block with Jesse Goddard because of that, because Jesse was in the midst of the drama and the vote flipped onto him, and Memphis was able to get a full foothold alongside Dan in the weeks following that. I think that Memphis is a very smart player. He has some minor issues socially that hopefully within the last 12 years he's worked out. I think that's not, out of the question to say. I'm very excited to see Memphis. I think that obviously the Big Brother 10 cast is strong. He wouldn't have been, maybe my top 3 to 5 picks from that season, but that's not really a knock on him, more so a compliment to the cast in general. But I think that Memphis does have a lot of intrigue and potential coming into this season.
Yeah, I mean, for me, Cody has the Memphis effect because Memphis came first. So they're kind of in that same category for me where they were second to, the top 2 players in Big Brother history. I think Memphis, you're right, probably has the bigger chip compared to Cody, purely because he didn't get any jury votes. But, I kind of just throw him in that category with Cody, where they're both smart, both physical to some degree. Well, I think Cody maybe more so than Memphis now, but I think he's going to be fun to watch. I don't think he's going to be an early vote off, but he's going to be the most interesting to see. He's got, not the most, but up there at least. He's got a lot to prove as well, coming in second to Dan. So he's got to be able to prove that he can do it on his own and fix those, minor social errors. But again, he was also in Big Brother 10, which was, amazing to watch, but also probably a nightmare to play in. So, that's my take on Memphis.
Yeah, definitely a wait and see. Ben, you said Memphis was very good at not causing drama. What about the other BP10 player on this season?
Yeah, definitely. We're going to be talking about the 4th place player from Big Brother 10, Keisha Smith. Definitely somebody who was involved heavily in a lot of the drama that season, to the point where the main blow-up from that season is literally named after her.
Having when her birthday is? Because that's disappointing if so.
Keisha's birthday.
Keisha's birthday is unfortunately on August 1st. which is in 2 days.
Oh,
So it will not be occurring off season. Unfortunately, it's disgusting. It's inappropriate.
Would have been like Christmas.
Yeah.
Would have been like Christmas morning to have that happen again.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely the most famous birthday, followed shortly after by Rockstar's daughter's birthday.
And
in the history of Big
right
Brother. Yeah, absolutely.
in the world, let alone Big Brother.
Well, I mean,
Awesome.
Jesus' birthday is playing on this season, so
Oof.
that was a dad joke,
One.
but
That was a good
yeah.
one, though. Oh man.
God help us.
Yeah. Keisha Smith, somebody who is a late addition to the cast, potentially an alternate. A lot of speculation that she might have been the alternate for Casey, which, if that's the case, I'm happy with it.
Like, well, she had to get COVID. I don't know.
I mean,
Hey.
look,
I mean, we hope speedy recovery, of course, all that.
if that's the case.
Right.
Yeah. But Keisha Smith, fan favorite from that season, she won the America's Favorite vote. She's been one of the main people, like a top 5 to 10 people, consistently brought up by the fan base, somebody that they want to see get a second shot. Somebody who, despite all the drama that she was involved in, with April, with Libra, with Rennie, with even Jerry to some extent, with Jesse,
Oh, God.
with pretty much half the cast, really. Michelle, even to an extent. She is still able to get 4th place and be in a relative position to potentially win the game if she was able to win out comps those last 2 rounds. And because it was basically a 3-man race in comps because Jerry was there, it's not like out of the question for her to win out from that position.
Yeah, I'm really excited. Team Good Feeds is,
Oh, yeah. She's going to be pure entertainment. Especially if she starts causing stuff again, or at least stirs the pot a little. Oh, God.
I'm hoping
She's going to be fun to watch.
Hoping she has a
For
melody.
sure.
All right, who's next?
Oh, I hope she's even worse.
Worse as in better. All right.
Worse for the better. I don't know.
That's true, yeah. We're skipping right over BB9, of course. We're also skipping over Big Brother 8. Unfortunately, a lot of good players from Big Brother 8. Well, I mean, Danada also.
Yeah, we talked about Danny, so.
But other players from Big Brother 8 who potentially could have been in the mix. Definitely, well, we don't have to talk about that. But the other player that we have yet to talk about, the last player on this cast.
Let's do it.
He played with Janelle on season 7 and 6. Quesarita.
Yes, exciting double All-Star again, and I think one of the most beloved players ever. Ben, would you say that's fair?
Yeah, I think that him and Janelle were like neck and neck during that 6 and 7 back-to-back season as far as the fan base loving them. Even though Janelle went to Final 3 in both of those seasons, and Kaser was evicted 3 times within those 2 seasons, all pre-jury.
We're going to talk about that, Ben.
Able to maintain. Well, we have to talk about it. I mean,
yeah.
it's relevant.
Good job.
He was still like neck and neck with Janelle in terms of being beloved by the fans at that point in the franchise. And it's insane to me. Like, this is like, Ethan's on Winners of War level of like old school fan favorite coming back randomly after a million years.
Hopefully we don't get our heart broken like we did with Ethan on Winners of War.
Or with Kaser on his first 2 seasons.
Right. And I also think, like, very famously, the pressure cooker comp where he gave up the win and got knocked out. Like, maybe we'll see that come back finally.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. I know a lot of people are a big fan of the pressure cooker comp, despite the result of the pressure cooker comp. The comp itself is very entertaining. All of those, like, basically just like how bad do you want it style competitions are generally very entertaining, especially when we're allowed to watch them on the feeds. But I do think that they've moved away from those like endless competitions. Just from a production standpoint, it's very difficult to maintain for such a long period of time in terms of like the cameras and all that.
Yeah,
and,
a
like,
lot of unused footage on those.
Yeah.
Comps.
So I would not bet the house on the pressure cooker comp coming back, but I also would not have bet the house on Kaser coming back. So who knows?
Yes, indeed. And maybe this maybe this is the time he makes the jury.
I hope so. I think that he has a good shot. I don't think the issues. So we can talk about exactly why Kaser was evicted 3 times pre-jury in 2 seasons. So in Big Brother 6, we had talked about previously with Janelle, or mentioned it briefly, but that season essentially broke down after the first 2 weeks into a 6v6, just 2 alliances trading competitions and just like evicting each other. And Kaser, this was a season where everyone came in with a secret pair. Kaser's pair was the second boot, so he came in, lost his partner very early on. Janelle was the other person who lost her partner before the side solidified, which is why the 2 of them got very close, because his partner was also somebody that Janelle showmanced with in the first week. He was able to get himself solidly within the Sovereign 6 alliance against the Friendship. Unfortunately, leading up to the eviction of the kind of God Emperor of the Friendship, Cappy, he had kind of a fight with Cappy, a blow up. Also, there was potential like racism or Islamophobia from cast members such as Yvette that obviously would not have helped him in establishing good social abilities during that part of the season, which made him an early target from the Friendship as far as them targeting members of the Sovereign 6. James Ryan also was running information back and forth, not really leading to him being evicted, but it was somebody that the Friendship obviously wasn't going to target. And so I think that Kaser just kind of put himself into a position, or was put into a position by circumstance, as being a target of the Friendship early on. And those 2, the way the season just played out was those 2 alliances just traded competitions until the end of the game, where the Friendship won more competitions, basically. And he was a victim of that. He came back in, obviously, coming back in from the season like that when he was already in that position, he's not going to get any kind of foothold. Like, it's just going to be the exact same situation. He's going to have a revolving door, so you can't really blame him for that.
Right.
And then coming back on season 7, as we mentioned, him and Janelle were like, even with Dr. Will, who was basically the OG winner of the show, if we ignore Big Brother 1, Kaser and Janelle were like the 2 like focal points of that season coming in. And he came in with the 4 of the 6 members of the Sovereign 6, the 2 Janelle and Kaser, plus Howie and James. So those 4 were immediately looked at as just like huge targets.
Yeah, I mean,
4 people who are going to work together, and 2 of them are huge fan favorites, huge faces of the franchise that every other All-Star is going to want to knock down off their pedestal. And again, James Ryan wasn't the most loyal. And we see a situation where Kaser was an early victim of the Sovereign 6 alliance being targeted. So, with that being said, does Kaser have issues with his gameplay? Yes. Does him being evicted 3 times pre-jury within 2 seasons represent his abilities as a Big Brother player? I don't necessarily think so, especially on this cast, especially in the circumstance where he's not really going to be looked at here as a major threat the way he was in Big Brother 7. He has the connection with Janelle, which is in itself obvious, but I think that in this case, Janelle is more likely to be the target over him, whereas previously it would have been him over Janelle. So hopefully he can use Janelle as a shield in the early part of the season. Obviously it would be great for both of them to stick around together and work as a duo. But I do think that Kaser has a very good shot of at least making jury and not, going 4 for 3.
Right.
That'd be awful.
Yeah.
It'd be an unfortunate fate. But
yep.
Yeah. You know what? 2020 has been really shitty. Let's try to manifest some good stuff.
Can we at least have this season obviously happen and finish, first of all?
Mm-hmm.
That's, moderately up in the air.
Of course.
Yeah.
But can.
Yep. Hopefully it doesn't have a BB candidate situation, no. Where one person is evicted and then a bunch of people are kicked out or quit and then the season gets canceled randomly week 5.
Right.
That's not great. Hopefully that doesn't happen. And hopefully, we don't have like I don't know. But what's the worst case scenario? What's like a Christmas David final too? I don't know. I don't want to like throw the bus like that.
Yeah.
Christmas win.
God help us.
Not what I'm looking forward to. I think that the cast is so strong that it can't be a bad season, right?
Right. No, definitely.
No, I mean there's so many storylines here that are so interesting to see. You have 2 players who were runner-ups to the 2 greats in history. You have Janelle, who had, could put the capstone on Big Brother history right here, at least for the first, 22 seasons. You have a lot of fan favorites in this cast. I mean, you have a few duds, but you have a lot of players who, have a lot to redeem. I say David Alexander being, one of the, highest potential players here, maybe Vaughan in there. Really there's only one player who's kind of a dud on this season, and she had broken her leg in her season. So it's like, I feel like it's going to be a strong season overall. There's definitely players that I'm a huge fan of, Cody being one of them, Davon, obviously, Tyler. We all love Tyler. Kesar, Ian Terry. I mean, half the cast is going to be amazing to see play again, if not the full cast. So
yeah,
I'm very excited for this season.
Every eviction, but
oh my god,
true, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm so excited.
So should we
it's
get
gonna
into
be good.
winner picks?
Yeah, I think so. I think we cap off this podcast with each of us locking in our winner pick, and hopefully this is the cast, and the person we pick as the winner pick is on the cast, because that would be awful and embarrassing.
Yeah. Well, that already happened to me, Benny.
Newest member to this, WG universe. Would you like to go first to lock in your pick?
Sure. So me and Benny had talked before. I had a female, a male. Hayden was my male pick, but that, my winner pick didn't even make the season.
Right.
So my word is clearly not a lot here. I really like Cody as a winner pick. It's all about him just, not being in the limelight for being a comp beast. So I'm going to go with Cody as my overall pick.
All right. Great pick. It's really great. I think.
Feel free to steal him. Feel free to steal him from me.
Well, I think it'll be better if I pick someone else, because then we have more chance to have all of us get our heart broken, and that'll be fun. So Ben,
there we go.
Higher opportunity for embarrassment. Do you want to go next, Brian, or do you go next?
You go next. You go next.
I know you had been looking at Cody as a potential winner pick, so I might be mixing you up here.
Yeah, I didn't think about it a little bit, but yeah.
Yeah, so there were a few players who I was considering as a winner pick. Cody was definitely up there as one of them. Other names that I had potentially looked at were Danada. Keisha was somebody else who I think could be a really strong player. Memphis also as well. I think the 2 of them as a pair could do really well. But with the late addition, I really hope that he's on the cast, because this is going to be real bad if he's not on the cast.
We can redo our winner picks if our winner picks
after the premiere. If the cast is not the 16, or if one of our winner picks is not there, we can do a little bit of a mulligan potentially.
Right.
But I'm going to lock in Kevin Campbell as my winner pick for Big Brother.
Very nice. I think a sleeper pick right there.
Yep.
All right, so looking at the cast, actually has a good amount of my former winner picks on it. I had Nicole and Frankie kind of tied for BB16. I had Davon on 18. I had Christmas on 19. I'm not going to pick Christmas, that's for sure. I think I will... You know what? I'm ready to get hurt again. I'm going to pick Davon again. I'm logging it in.
Oh, my God. All right. I
hope it happens, Ryan.
Yeah, because I would hate to get into a situation where I'd have to root against her.
Sure, that's fair.
So.
Oh, yeah, there are a lot of my previous
runner-up
season as well. Tyler on BB20 was a winner pick of mine. Nicole on BB18 was a winner pick of mine. You can kind of compare my winner picks with Brian's potentially, and get a little bit of a view here.
Hey, I was thinking Danny Danada too. So we're all kind of in the same boat here.
Yeah, it was very close between Danny and Kevin for my winner pick. It's Kevin 1, Danny 2, and then Cody 3. Those are my top 3, I think.
Yeah,
I think we should come back on premiere night and make our lock winner pick.
Yeah, we'll lock.
We see the full
cast. If this is the cast of 16, I think that we can lock those 3 winner picks.
Yeah.
If there's some change here, we can maybe adjust.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Depending on who it is. So,
is there anything else we want to talk about before we get on out of here? I said we'd go for 1 hour. We've almost gone for 2 now.
Hey, it's the first episode, all right?
Yeah, this is Big Brother 22 All Stars 2, Brian. All right, we gotta talk about it. All right, this is something that's been 15 years in the ether and the wait. Okay,
a 2-hour podcast where we talk about people who aren't even on the season, maybe.
All right, well, I
think at least it doesn't happen.
At least 13 or 14 of them are for sure.
Right.
There's maybe like 2 or 3 wiggle rooms here.
Oh man! All right. Well, Chad, where can they find you online if they want to check out your stuff? Tweets, Instagram.
I'm not too present on socials. Yeah, my Instagram, I literally have to look up the handle right now. It's ChadleyJP. So feel free to follow me on there. I'll post stuff about cool stuff I do every now and again. Twitter, I'm on Twitter at ChadPerry25. Feel free to add me on there as well. But yeah, looking forward to talking about Big Brother once a week.
Yes.
For hours at a time.
All right, Ben, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Ben Sharon. I guess technically on Instagram, even though I don't really use Instagram, at Ben Sharon also, I think. I think usually all of my handles are at Ben Sharon. It's Sharon with 2 R's. So. Yeah, it's. I'll be tweeting. I'll probably be doing a lot of live feed update tweets if you want to check that out.
Yeah, it'll be good to keep everyone in the loop.
Yep.
On that.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm getting pretty good at this rigmarole with all the various podcasts, but here it goes one more time. You can follow me on Twitter at TheFakeBMar, that's BMARR. You can follow the channel on Twitter at WGEverything, on Instagram at WickedGoodEverything, on Twitch at twitch.tv/WickedGoodEverything. And for now, you can find us on TikTok. Who knows if that thing is going to get deleted by Trump. It's just going to eat it off of all of our phones. But for now, you can find us there. And of course, subscribe here to Wicked Good Podcasts and the main channel, obviously. And we will see you in the next one where we will actually know the cast.